And today's first witness in the Brian Walshe trial will be questioned without the jury. Walshe is accused of murdering and dismembering his wife. Yesterday, prosecutors showed surveillance images they say show Walshe buying stuff he used to cover up the murder. Now a family friend is about to testify without the jury present. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmire is here with more on that. So, Brian, this friend, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the last person to have seen Anna Walshe alive, aside from Brian Walshe. Why have him testify without the jury first?
So that standing as to who he is what the prosecution is putting forward. And the voir dire, or to my colleagues in the South, voir dire, is a way to kind of speak the truth. That's the old French phrase of it. And so what the defense is saying is, before we put this witness on the stand, we want to be able to question him to make sure that the information he's going to give is reliable and credible and relevant to this case outside the presence of the jury. And if you, the judge, feel that it meets those benchmarks, then we can have this witness testify in front of the jury to make sure that we get it right the first time and not have an issue in front of the jury.
Yesterday, we heard about DNA evidence from a different witness. How does that work in a case like this, where Brian Walshe has already pleaded guilty to dismembering the body, so obviously his DNA is going to be everywhere, unlike some other cases where the person may say, I don't even know this person, I had nothing to do with this?
Yeah, so obvious to us, because we know that Brian Walshe has pled guilty, but the jury hasn't heard that as yet. And so what the prosecution is doing here is proving their entire case, the case they originally had, of not just proving that Brian Walshe murdered his wife, but also hid the body. And while there is strong DNA evidence that his DNA is on various items found in the trash, the prosecution is going to tie it all together and say the reason why he hid the body, the reason why he did this, is because he committed the murder. And the defense is going to have the ability to stop and say, you know what? He did this bad thing, and he's admitting to it, but what he did not do is a murder, and there's no evidence of that, only circumstantial evidence to suggest that because he buried the body or he disposed of it, he must have murdered her, but that's not the case. That's the defense's argument.
And how are they handling that element of this in this trial, where they haven't told the jury that he pleaded guilty to these other charges, but that inevitably comes up throughout the course of a trial about her murder, doesn't it?
They're all just kind of playing, for lack of a better term, dumb about it, right? In front of the jury, at least. And so they're just proving all this information. And what the prosecution is doing is showing that the circumstantial evidence, not just of the killing, but the cover-up, because it's a coined phrase that always comes up. It's not just a crime, it's a cover-up, right? The circumstantial evidence surrounding the entirety of this alleged murder, the prosecution is going to say, this is why we know he killed her. The life insurance, the burying the body, the internet searches, the thought process, all of the reasonable doubt is out of the room, and the only reasonable explanation is Brian Walshe committed this crime, and the defense is going to try to pluck one little argument and say, yeah, but we don't have this, so it's reasonable doubt.
But is the defense going to say, yes, he did move her body, yes, he did, mislead police, but no, he didn't kill her? Is that still going to come up in the defense?
I would imagine that's on closing argument. And it's actually a pretty common defense in homicides, where you clearly have your client disposing of a body, but there isn't that critical information as to how the person died. And it's meant to be a sense of like, hey, here's some credibility on my part, right? I will tell you that I did something wrong, but I didn't do this. I mean, we're parents, our children do this to us all the time. No, mommy and daddy, I did eat the cookie, but I didn't eat 2 cookies. And you're meant to believe them more because they're open to saying what they did wrong, but standing firm as to what they're arguing.
All right, Brian Buckmire, thank you.